What is going on, everyone? My name is Ghiman Mckinney, or you can just call me Juice because that is my nickname. So, a couple hours ago, I just got done watching the first round of the 2020 NFL Draft, and I want to chime in this episode. I'm going to give you guys my first round grades for each NFL team. I'll grade them, who got A pluses, who got D pluses, who got C's, who got B's. Let's get right to it. The Cincinnati Bengals at number 1 overall took Joe Burrow, quarterback out of LSU. I believe they get an A for this first round selection. Joe Burrow was easily, by far, the best quarterback in this draft class. I don't understand how you can make an argument for anyone else. This is a guy that makes, great decisions at the highest level. He's pinpoint accurate. He's mobile inside the pocket. He can make plays off schedule. And he's just everything you want in a franchise quarterback. And he had the greatest season in college football history this past year. He knows how to read defenses. I have 28 college starts under his belt, so experience is not an issue. I believe he is a legit franchise quarterback. The only reason this is not an A plus is because I don't think that he's a generational talent. I don't think he's the next Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's the next Patrick Mahomes, but I do think he's the next franchise quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. And while it's going to be a tough rebuild, I do believe he can actually turn that franchise around if supported enough. Up next, the Washington Redskins took Chase Young at number 2 overall. And I have compared Chase Young in the past to Lawrence Taylor, and I truly believe that Chase Young can be one of the next great Hall of Fame game-changing defensive players. I believe he's going to have a gold jacket one day. So I had to give this an A+. I believe the Redskins got the best player in this draft at number 2 overall. You can put him on that defensive line with Montez Sweat, with Deron Payne, with Jonathan Allen. That gives the Redskins 4 first-round picks on their defensive line. Chase Young will dominate the NFL. To me, he's better than Joey Bosa, better than Nick Bosa, and he's going to make an immediate impact for the Redskins. I believe he and Dwayne Haskins can turn that franchise around eventually with Ron Rivera as the head coach. I really love this pick for the Redskins. At number 3 overall, the Lions, they took Jeffrey Okudah, the defensive back out of Ohio State. To me, he was the best overall cornerback in this year's draft. I got to give this a B+, and I'll tell you why in a second. Listen, this fills a huge need for the Lions, and I do believe Jeffrey Okudah, like I said, is the best quarterback in this year's draft class. The Lions do not like to blitz. That is something that Matt Patricia does not like to do, so you need good cover corners. Now, personally, I think that taking a defensive back at number 3 overall is kind of a little bit too high. I wanted the Lions to trade down to number 5 or number 6 to select Jeffrey Okudah. If that was their guy, I would feel much better about about this pick if that happened, but it didn't, so I'm gonna dock them a couple points because of that. And also, I felt that Isaiah Simmons was a better pick for this Lions team. I just think Isaiah Simmons is a better player and will provide a much bigger long-term impact for this team, but I can't deny the talent that Jeffrey Okudah presents, and that he brings to the table. He's gonna be a great defensive back for the Lions. He fills a need, and this is a B+ pick right here. I like this pick, but I think that they could have did a little bit better. At number 4, the Giants selected Andrew Thomas, the offensive tackle out of Georgia. This, to me, gets an A-. Andrew Thomas fills a need. I believe Andrew Thomas is one of the most surefire players in this year's draft. And again, the Giants, they needed to add to their offensive line in the offseason, because the offensive line was a huge need for this team. Personally, I would have picked Isaiah Simmons just because I think Isaiah Simmons is a generational talent. I don't think that you can pass up on a guy like that. If I was drafting personally, I would have taken Isaiah Simmons. I would have went the best player available route. But again, the Giants decided to fill a need and to protect their young quarterback, Daniel Jones, who showed a lot of promise as a rookie. I believe Daniel Jones is a franchise quarterback, and I do believe Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley are going to benefit a lot from this pick. They are the 2 most important players on the Giants offense, so I think that the Giants really filled a huge need right here. This pick is really going to help their team, but I just think that they could have, taken the best player available in Isaiah Simmons. But either way, I like this pick right here. At number 5 overall, the Dolphins, they got their franchise quarterback of the future, and his name is Tua Tagovailoa I gotta give this an A- right here. This is a very good pick in my opinion. The only reason why I don't give it an A+ or an A is just simply because I'm higher on Jordan Love than most people. I felt that Jordan Love was arguably the second best quarterback in this year's draft behind Joe Burrow. I said that Tua is more ready to play at this moment. He's more polished than Jordan Love, but he doesn't have a better arm. He's not quite as durable, and I don't think that his ceiling is as high as Jordan Love. So if you were asking me who would I build around, I would build around Jordan Love. And I don't think that Tua is a surefire thing due to his injury history. There's a lot of concern. There's some risk there. But I cannot deny the talent. I can't deny what the film says. And the film tells me that if this guy stays healthy, he's a franchise quarterback. I have to respect the Miami Dolphins' decision, and I do believe that them getting a franchise quarterback for the future is a huge win for them on draft night. At number 6 overall, the Chargers selected Justin Herbert, the quarterback out of Oregon. Now, I've kind of been down on Justin Herbert the last couple weeks. I've compared him to a McDonald's burger simply because I think that, in McDonald's commercials, the burgers look super juicy. They look super tasty. And I'm not trying to say that McDonald's burgers aren't good, but sometimes when you buy them, you're kind of disappointed. It doesn't look like you got the same bang for your buck as what it looked like in the commercial. And I think that Justin Herbert at times gets a little bit too much credit for his potential, for what he can become, not for what he actually is. Justin Herbert has some questions. He has, bad mechanics. His footwork is not great. His decision-making at times is not great. I don't think he can really win with touch and accuracy. At this point, he's more of a thrower than an actual quarterback. I think that he needs a lot of work. He's not ready to start right now, but I cannot deny the talent, and I can't deny the fact that the Chargers, in my opinion, need a franchise quarterback for the future. I don't think Tyrod Taylor is your long-term guy. At least I don't think he can win you a Super Bowl long-term, and I will admit that I think that this can be a great situation for Justin Herbert. He's going to be able to sit behind Tyrod Taylor. He's going to be coached by Anthony Lynn, who to me is a very underrated coach. He's going to have weapons to throw to. You've got Keenan Allen. You've got Hunter Henry. You've got Austin Eckler, an improved offensive line. So he's going to have time to sit and develop, and I believe he's going to have the support on offense for him to be a successful quarterback once he steps on the field. So I like the fit. I do believe that at times at Oregon, he was kind of being held back by their play calling. I like the fit, and I got to give this a B because I do believe there is some buzz potential, but I got to respect the Chargers' decision to go with Justin Herbert, even though I do think that they probably should have taken Jordan Love over him. Okay, up next, the Panthers. They took Derrick Brown at number 7 overall, the defensive tackle out of Auburn. The Panthers lost a lot on their defensive line, so I don't knock them for making this pick. I'm going to give this a B+, simply because I think that Derrick Brown is a very, very good player. But I think that he has sort of a low ceiling, but a very high floor. Meaning, I think that Derrick Brown is going to be potentially a solid starter for at least a decade or two potentially, but I don't know if he'll ever flash and blossom into an elite defensive tackle. I do believe he has a chance to be an elite run stopper, but I don't know how much he will affect the passing game on defense as far as getting after the quarterback. But again, he's a very solid player. He fills a need, and I gotta respect the Carolina Panthers for making this pick. They believe in Derrick Brown, and I'm not gonna bang on this pick too much because I do believe it fills a huge need, and I gotta say that Derrick Brown has a chance to be a very solid player for the Panthers going forward. Up next at number 8 overall, the Arizona Cardinals get the second A+ so far up to this point. So Chase Young to the Redskins is an A+, and I do believe Isaiah Simmons to the Cardinals is an A+ pick. Listen, this was the best player on the board at the time, and the Cardinals got him at number 8. Isaiah Simmons could have went as high as number 3. In my opinion, I do think that he is a steal sort of at this point because I do think that he's a top 5 pick. He's one of the 3 best players in this draft, and the Cardinals got him at number 8 overall. I know that offensive line was a huge need for this team, but when you're picking in the top 10, sometimes if you can get a generational talent or the best player available, you do that. And I think that Isaiah Simmons is going to be a great, excellent player for this team. He will improve the 32nd ranked total defense last year. He will improve the 28th ranked scoring defense from a year ago. He's your do-it-all linebacker. He can play middle linebacker. He can play outside linebacker. He can play safety. He can blitz the quarterback. He's just everything you look for in an elite defensive prospect. And I do believe the Cardinals got an excellent player in Isaiah Simmons. This is an A+ right here. Up next, the Jaguars, C.J. Henderson. They picked him out of Florida. He's a cornerback, a defensive back. I'm going to go B right here. I'm going to give this a B. Okay, it's a solid pick. It fills a need, and I do believe C.J. Henderson was by far the second best defensive back in this year's draft behind one Jeffrey Okudah. So again, it fills a need. They got a very solid player. I just think that they could have went a different direction. I would have liked them to potentially have gotten Jerry Jeudy or Ghiman Mckinney, right here at this point in the top 10. And I do think that C.J. Henderson is a fringe top 10 prospect, but again, it fills a need. I do believe he's a chance to become a great player, and I gotta respect the Jaguars' decision to take C.J. Henderson at number 9 overall. At number 10 overall, the Browns, they selected Jedrick Wills, the offensive lineman out of Alabama. This gets an A for me right here. He was my best offensive lineman on the board. You get him at number 10. It fills a huge need. Again, the only reason why I don't give this an A+ is just because I don't think he's a can't-miss prospect. But again, he's as good as you can get right here. And to get the best offensive lineman at number 10 is a win for the Cleveland Browns. I like the pick. Number 11 overall, the Jets. They go Mekhi Becton, offensive tackle out of Louisville. I felt that it would be irresponsible if the Jets did not get one of the marquee offensive linemen in this year's draft. They got one of the 4 best offensive linemen in this year's draft. They got Mekhi Becton at number 11. That sounds about right to me. I do believe they will address their wide receiver issues in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round. So again, I like the fact that they went offensive line. They're going to protect Sam Darnold. The Jets offensive line was just awful last year. This fills a huge need. I like the pick. At number 12 overall, the Oakland Raiders, they drafted Henry Ruggs, wide receiver out of Alabama. And I'm going to give this a B right here. I personally would have went Jerry Jeudy just because I think that Jerry Jeudy was a much safer pick. And I don't think the gap is too wide between CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs. It fills a need for the Oakland Raiders because outside of Terrell Williams and Hunter Renfrow, those are 2 very good young players. But again, they don't have a true number 1 wide receiver. And I do believe Henry Ruggs, if he develops properly and reaches his full potential, he can be a Tyreek Hill-esque player. And that is a guy that can change a game in an instant. So again, I respect what John Gruden did by drafting him, and I gotta respect what the Raiders did at number 12. Number 13 overall, the Buccaneers traded 1 spot to get Tristan Wirfs. I'm going to give this an A+, simply because if you would have asked me is Tristan Wirfs going to be there at number 14 for the Buccaneers, if you would have asked me that question, I would have told you no, because I felt that Tristan Wirfs was going to be picked in the top 8. Okay, I believe that he was not going to get past the Cardinals. I felt that he was a top 10 pick. The Buccaneers get him at number 13. I do believe that's great value. He's going to be able to protect Tom Brady on the offensive line. He is a little bit raw, but I do believe he can play guard. He can play offensive tackle, either right or left tackle. So again, if he doesn't work out at tackle, you can put him at guard, like I said. I think that he's a great overall player. He's one of the more elite prospects in this year's draft. He's big, he's athletic, and he will be able to protect Tom Brady. I like this pick. Number 14 overall, the 49ers, they selected Ghiman Mckinney, defensive tackle out of South Carolina. I'm going to give this an A+, simply because I believe he's a top 10 talent in this year's draft. I believe he's worth a top 10 pick. You traded away DeForest Buckner for your 1st round pick, and basically you got cheaper, you got younger, and you addressed a need. Okay, so while it would have been nice to have kept DeForest Buckner, you didn't have to pay him a bunch of money, and you replace him with a guy that can actually reach his level eventually once he fully pans out. I do believe that Ghiman Mckinney can become one of the best defensive tackles in football. The 49ers defensive line continues to be a strength of their team. I like this pick for the 49ers right here. 15th overall, the Broncos selected Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver out of Alabama. Again, another A+. If you're in the Kansas City Chiefs division, you are trying to draft to beat them. You need to have speed on the outside on offense, because at times you're going to have to win track meets. You're going to have to score fast. You're going to have to score in bunches, and you're going to need a lot of weapons in order to do it. I do believe Jerry Jeudy can develop into the number 1 wide receiver on the Broncos. It fills a need. I felt that they needed an extra wide receiver to complement Courtland Sutton. So again, this does it right here. Jerry Jeudy falls to the Broncos at number 15. I like this pick, and I think it's honestly a steal based on where they got him. Number 16 overall, the Atlanta Falcons got AJ Terrell, the cornerback out of Clemson. I'm going to give this a B-, just simply because I believe that there were better defensive backs on the board, but this does fill a need. But either way, I felt that Clavon Chason would have been a better pick. I felt the Falcons kind of reached with this pick right here. He's more of a second round pick to me, and you picked him at number 16 overall. That's kind of a reach. So again, that's why you get a B- right here, but it fills a need. So knock your socks off. The Dallas Cowboys selected CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. I'm going to give this pick a B+. The only reason I'm going to give it a B+ is because Dallas needs help on defense. Offense was actually not the issue for the team last year. The Dallas Cowboys were able to move the football a lot. At times, they just could not stop people. And I don't think that a lot of people fear the Dallas Cowboys defense as of right now. But I will say, the fact that they got the best wide receiver in this year's draft at number 17 overall, I do believe that is a win for Dallas. And again, you're going to line up Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, with that offensive line, with Ezekiel Elliott to run the football, and Dak Prescott is coming off a career year statistically. Dak Prescott finally showed that he potentially can become maybe an elite quarterback. Now again, he needs to find a way to win more games rather than just putting up statistics, but either way, I believe this is a great fit for Dallas. I just think that they probably should have went defense right here, but at the same time, there weren't a whole lot of defenders at this spot that I felt really fit this team, so I think that getting CeeDee Lamb is an okay pick. I'm all right with it, and Dallas's offense is going to be scary next year. You at least are somewhat of a winner from that pick. Number 18 overall, the Dolphins, they selected Austin Jackson, offensive lineman out of USC. This is going to get a C grade right here. Okay, I'm gonna give this a C simply because I just think that there were better available offensive linemen. Now the Dolphins offensive line is just not that good, so they need to address the offensive line. I respect their decision of going with the guy that they feel most good about, but either way, where I had Austin Jackson ranked was a second round offensive lineman. I would have felt much better if the Dolphins could have gotten him in the second round. I do believe this is a reach, especially with Josh Jones being on the board. So again, I have to give this a C as a result. Up next, the Oakland Raiders at number 19 overall. They selected Damon Arnett, and I'm going to give this a C-. The reason why is not because I don't think Damon Arnett can play. I do think he can play. I think that Damon Arnett has the potential to become a very good starting cornerback. The only problem is I believe that he was probably a mid-second round pick. And I just think that the Oakland Raiders could have used better players on the board to help improve their defense. Maybe Patrick Queen, okay? So I think that you reach for a guy that you could have gotten in the second round. I feel this is a reach. Damon Arnett can play, but I think he's overdrafted. Number 20 overall, I got the Jaguars taking Clavon Chason. Well, I shouldn't say taking. The Jaguars actually took Clavon Chason, edge rusher out of LSU. This is going to get an A for me. You add to your front seven. This was a need for the Jaguars because they lost a ton of great players on their front seven. Yannick Ngakoue might get traded. The only reason why this is not an A+ is simply because I think that Clavon Chason sort of has a slight ceiling, just because I think that he needs to add on a little bit of weight to really impose his will on opposing offensive tackles. But again, he's versatile, he's young, he's fast, and I think that he's going to play very well with the Jaguars. And you compare him with Josh Allen on that edge, that could be a scary sight. Number 21 overall, the Eagles. They selected Jalen Reagor, the wide receiver out of TCU. Now, I like Reagor a lot, but in the right system. I think that the Eagles made a mistake by picking Jalen Reagor just because I think that they need a guy that can eventually develop into a number one wide receiver. And I do think that Jalen Reagor's ceiling is a high-end number 2 wide receiver. And there were so many other good wide receivers on the board. You had Denzel Mims, Justin Jefferson, a lot of wide receivers that I had rated higher than Jalen Reagor were on the board. And I like Jalen Reagor, but I like him in the right system. And I do think that Doug Peterson will find some creative ways to use him, but at the same time, I just feel that he's never going to develop into a true number one wide receiver. And with Alshon Jeffrey having injury concerns and him declining, the same thing with Deshaun Jackson, I felt the Eagles need to get a true number one wide receiver. I got to give this a C simply because I think that it fills a need, so that's a positive. But I do think that the Eagles could have done a lot better than Jalen Reagor at number 21 overall. At number 22 overall, the Minnesota Vikings, they got Justin Jefferson out of LSU. He's a wide receiver. I'm going to give the Vikings an A. Okay, they need to replace Stephon Diggs, who they lost in a trade to the Buffalo Bills. I do believe that Justin Jefferson can eventually one day develop into a number one wide receiver. He's a great complement to Adam Thielen. The Vikings need to replace Stephon Diggs. I do believe that Jefferson is a perfect fit for their offense. He can line up in the slot. He can win one-on-one matchups on the outside. He's a great jump ball wide receiver. I like this pick for the Vikings. Number 23 overall, the Chargers. They trade up to draft Kenneth Murray, the linebacker out of Oklahoma. I'm going to give the Chargers an A for this pick. I believe this is an A right here on my grading scale. Patrick Queen personally was my guy. I think that Patrick Queen is a better linebacker than Kenneth Murray. I had Patrick Queen as the second best middle linebacker in this year's draft, behind Isaiah Simmons, and I had Kenneth Murray number 3. But either way, I think that Kenneth Murray is a great fit for the Chargers. I'm going to give them an A because I think that he's a very good fit for their defense. He's a do-it-all linebacker. He can blitz. He can cover tight ends. He can cover running backs. He can tackle very well. I do believe that you need to have great athletic linebackers and speed on your defense in order to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And I do believe the Chargers are one of those teams that is building to beat Kansas City. And I like this pick right here for the Chargers. Even though they did have to trade up, I don't have a problem with that. I got to give them an A for this pick. Number 24 overall, the New Orleans Saints. They selected Cesar Ruiz out of Michigan, an offensive lineman. I'm giving this a C- simply because I just don't get what the Saints are doing here. It's not that I don't think that Ruiz can play. I just don't think the Saints should have taken him in the draft, okay? They already have an elite offensive line, and I would have much rather the Saints address their linebacker core, address maybe their secondary, or even their wide receiver core, even though they did add, Emmanuel Sanders in the offseason. So again, I just don't think this was the need for the Saints. They already had a great offensive line. Ruiz, to me, was more of a second round, offensive lineman. They picked him in the first round. I just think that was kind of a reach, and I don't like this pick at all for the Saints. I got to give them a C- right here. The 49ers, Brandon Ayuk out of Arizona State. They picked him. He's a wide receiver. I'm going to give them a C+ for this pick simply because I just think that there were better wide receivers on the board, and there's nothing really special to Brandon Ayuk's game, okay? He does feel a need. They did need a wide receiver to replace Emmanuel Sanders, so I understand that. But either way, I just think that Ayuk is a guy that is never going to reach his full potential. I see traits that don't really translate very well to the next level. But either way, I think that the 49ers can really scheme him open. I respect Kyle Shanahan for picking the guy that he likes. But I just felt the 49ers could have did a little bit better and picked a better wide receiver than Brandon Ayuk at this spot. Okay, at number 26 overall, my Green Bay Packers selected Jordan Love, the quarterback out of Utah State. And I'm actually going to give my Green Bay Packers a B for this pick, and I will tell you why. I felt that Jordan Love was arguably the second best quarterback in this year's draft, okay? So the Packers got the second best quarterback in this year's draft, in my opinion. I know Tua Tagovailoa is more polished. He's more ready to play right now. But if you had to ask me who would I rather build around, I'm building around Jordan Love. He's bigger. He's more talented. He's faster. He's more athletic. And I just think that he has a higher ceiling, okay? And we've seen this in the past. Aaron Rodgers succeeded Brett Favre. When Brett Favre was still sort of on the back nine of his prime, he was still playing good football, but not quite at the peak of his prime. This is the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. And I really, really wanted the Packers to draft a wide receiver or a linebacker to help out Aaron Rodgers to potentially win him another Super Bowl. Okay, the window is closing for Aaron Rodgers. Okay, his time is ticking in Green Bay. And I do believe the Packers should have drafted someone to help Aaron Rodgers try to win another Super Bowl. But I do believe down the road that if Jordan Love pops, he can win you a Super Bowl. So if the Packers, 10 years from now, get a Super Bowl with Jordan Love, I think it's a good pick. And I'm more so mad about the direction of the Packers rather than the actual draft pick. Okay, this was not a bad draft pick. I just don't admire the decision and the route the Packers are going as an organization, simply because what this tells me is that they are not all in on trying to win a Super Bowl this year. And that bothers me because this team was one game away from a Super Bowl a year ago. So again, I didn't love the pick, but I understand the pick, and I do believe down the road, Jordan Love is going to be a special quarterback for the Packers. He's going to sit behind Aaron Rodgers and develop and learn, and I believe he's going to thrive when his time comes. The only question is, could you have gotten a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers? If Jordan Love doesn't win a Super Bowl, that's a bad look, and that's my take on this pick. I give it a B for all those reasons. The Seahawks, 27 overall, they select Jordan Brooks, a linebacker out of Texas Tech. This is a C- grade right here. Patrick Queen was right there, and you passed on him for a guy that you could have gotten in the second or third round. That's a bad look. I don't understand what Seattle is doing. I felt that they needed to add to their pass rush. Jadeveon Clowney might be out the door. I did not think they needed a linebacker, and it was a questionable pick. I gotta give them a C- for this pick right here. The Ravens, they get Patrick Queen at number 28 overall. He's the best middle linebacker not named, and Isaiah Simmons. And I think that if you get someone like that at number 28, that's a steal. And I'm giving the Ravens an A+ for this pick. He's your do-it-all middle linebacker that can run sideline to sideline. The Ravens continue to add speed and athleticism to already an elite defense. I would have liked for them to potentially add a wide receiver, but again, I made a video in the past talking about how you can find great elite level wide receivers in the second round. Example, Michael Thomas led the league in receiving yards this past year. He was a second round pick. So again, I gotta respect the Ravens for going defense in the first round. This is a great pick right here. The Titans, they selected Isaiah Wilson, offensive lineman out of Georgia. This is a B+ right here. They lost Jack Conklin. I felt that Isaiah Wilson was more of a high second round pick, but again, you're picking late in the first round. That's not a huge difference, and you need to fill your offensive line holes and issues now that Jack Conklin is gone. So either way, I'm okay with this pick. Even though I would have picked Josh Jones over Isaiah Wilson, I respect the pick. Number 30 overall, the Dolphins select Noah Iganabi, a cornerback out of Auburn. I'm giving this a C- grade. I felt that the Dolphins reached for this pick right here. They could have gotten, what's his name? Xavier McKinney or Jeff Gladney, and I felt this was a reach. They once again pick another player that I felt that they reached for, and that is why they're getting a C- right here. At number 31 overall, the Vikings selected Jeff Gladney, quarterback out of TCU. This gets an A for me. I felt that Jeff Gladney was worth a high second round to late first round pick, and they got him late in the first round. That sounds about right to me. He's a very underrated prospect in this year's draft. He's very smart. He's very savvy. He's very quick. He's decisive with his moves, and he's just overall a great, defensive back. He's everything you look for in a defensive back. He's tough as nails. He will cover your best corner. Is a little bit undersized. Does need to put a little bit more weight for me, in my opinion. But either way, I like him, and it was a great pick. And last but not least, the Kansas City Chiefs selected Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the running back out of LSU at number 32 overall. This gets an A for me simply because I believe Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the perfect fit for the Kansas City Chiefs. I believe he's going to be able to catch passes from Patrick Mahomes. He can run in between the tackles. The Chiefs now have the most talented running back on their roster. With this pick right here, I do believe Clyde Edwards-Helaire is more talented at this point than Damian Williams. And I do believe he's more talented at this point than an older Shady McCoy. So again, the Chiefs, they might, get a gem in the waters right here. And I do believe that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a great fit for the Kansas City Chiefs offense. I like this pick right here. So those are all my first round grades for the 2020 NFL Draft. Be sure to comment where you agree with me and disagree with me. Love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juiciest Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I currently am a freshman there right now. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juiciest Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.